Hey, everybody, it's Becky Droz. Thank you for tuning into the Gorilla HR podcast. For our current event today, I want to talk about some things that are happening with the government. At the time of this recording, we are currently in the middle of a government shutdown. And so, for my HR folks and my business leaders and business owners, this has a lot of impacts on some of the processes and things that happen behind the scenes. So, for a while, E-Verify was shut down. And I understand that that is back up and running. For those of you that are not aware, E-Verify is the system that verifies the information that somebody provides when you're completing their I-9 at the time of hire. I don't want to go too far into this. This isn't really meant to be an E-Verify lesson. But when we're in a period like this and we have things that are not available and some of the tools and processes that we are generally required to comply with, when they're not available to us, just document what you're doing, document if you don't do something. We are all doing the best we can right now. I mean, that's really the short of it. So if there's something that you're trying to do and you can't access, make a note of it, set it to the side, and move on. I think that's really the best we can do right now. We're all in this together. Let's support each other. We're doing the best we can. Today's guest is awesome. I am beyond excited to have him here. I have Dr. Paul White with us, and he is a psychologist, and he co-wrote with Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote The Five Love Languages. Together, they created the Five Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. And so I love all of this stuff. I love anything where there's an inventory and essentially a quiz to help you identify preferences and how to communicate with people, all of this good stuff. And so he is going to talk to us today about the five languages of appreciation in the workplace. So here we go. Let's talk to Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for being here with me today.
I'm glad to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, for sure. I am actually super excited. So, of course, I am familiar with the five love languages, and I think most people are. I think at least most people I talk to are. But I'm really curious, how did you make that transition and figure how to apply this concept into work and create the languages of appreciation in the workplace?
Yeah, well, so I'm a psychologist, and mid-career, I was traveling and consulting with family-owned businesses, dealing with the family issues intertwined with running a business and business succession planning. And I was working with a family in North Carolina, actually upstate a bit, and I was talking to the dad, the CEO, and I said, how is the plan going? He says it's going well. My son's stepping up. I think it'll work. I walked across the hall and talked to his son and asked him the same question. And he said, this is a disaster, never going to work. I can't ever please my dad. And my wife and I were reading the Five Love Languages at that time, probably for the second or third time. And I thought, I wonder if this could help in work-based relationships. So I pursued Dr. Chapman for over a year before I was able to meet with him and pitched the idea. And we agreed that sort of the parallel concept in the workplace was appreciation, and decided to pursue that. And so wrote the book together, developed an online assessment, which has been taken by 450,000 people. And we've developed training materials, an online train the trainer course for HR professionals to be able to use within their organizations.
Yeah. 450,001, because I took it as well.
All right, so there you go.
Yes, yes. So for people who don't know, let's talk about what are the five languages of appreciation and how are they the same or different from the five love languages?
Yeah, they're the same in name as the five love languages. So words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, tangible gifts, and yes, physical touch. But they are applied differently in the relationships there. Um, and another difference in personal relationships, you sort of dialogue about it and hear, what kinds of words are important. In the workplace, if you sort of ask somebody, how should I show you appreciation? That's sort of a weird question, feels awkward. And
Yeah.
usually you don't get much, say, I don't know, tell me thanks. And so we learned over time that not only the language is important, but the specific actions within the language and from whom is a variable too. So in our assessment, we identified specific actions. So words, it might be just one-on-one saying thanks for helping out on something. But some people that feels awkward, and so maybe they would prefer a written note. And and same thing with quality time. It differs who you want to spend time with. So we've really narrowed it down so we can get very specific. So not only the team member, but then we create a group profile that allows the team to share how they like to be shown appreciation in a more, I don't know, calm setting where everybody's sharing. So it's not just one on
Yeah.
one, hey, look at me kind of thing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you find that there's one that's like most common in workplaces, or is there what's the distribution like for what people want?
Yeah, one of the things I tell leaders is if you only use words, you're missing over half of your group because words, while it's the largest language chosen by people, is about 44% in the United States. And then it sort of goes down from there. Quality time is 26, acts of service is 20. Um, Gifts is only 9%. And so
Mhm.
programs that focus on rewards and recognition, you're sort of missing it. And then physical touch is less than 1%. And so we don't assess for that, but we discuss it in our treatment and interactions.
Yeah, I think this is so interesting because in my world, my focus has really been in the concept of total rewards. And so I look at comp, which is really my sweet spot, but then it's the benefits and work-life effectiveness and talent development. And to me, this really fits into the idea of performance management because when I work with leaders and I say, what do you think about when I say performance management, they get the idea of that one time a year annual review. And it's like, hold up, we're doing this all wrong if that's all that comes to mind, because it
Yeah.
really needs to be in making sure that an individual's objectives are aligned and that the performance is aligned with the organization objectives. And I feel like these 5 languages of appreciation in the workforce really can do that. They really help to say that whatever that preferred method is, that's helping affirm or potentially course correct if an individual and organization aren't moving in the same way.
Yeah, one of the well, a couple of the major issues that HR professionals are facing currently are, retention, people
Yeah.
turnover and quitting, and then recruitment, and then dealing with remote employees and that whole sort of bag of tricks that's there.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
those all really relate to connectedness. And I don't mean to step on your toes, but um, most research shows that if you want to keep somebody, paying them more only will keep them for a couple months. It's really research has shown that 79% of people who quit cite a lack of appreciation as one of the main reasons. Now they may leave for a job that pays more, but that's not the reason they're leaving. It sort of happens that way, and so
Yeah.
really have to convince managers in the C-suite that this is the way that we keep our people. We become the place that people want to work, and it
Yeah.
also provides a mechanism to stay connected with our remote and hybrid employees.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to have all of those pieces working together. It really, I totally agree. You can't just say, "Well, I just gave you more money, so like, why aren't you happy now?" That doesn't solve your problem.
Right, right.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. Let's talk a little bit within these different love languages. What are some things that people can actually do? So I will tell you that I am a words of affirmation person, both for my personal love language, and then also I took the motivation by appreciation, the MBA inventory, and it's definitely I want the words of praise. So, I think, obviously saying like thank you or good job, but how can managers and leaders escalate that? How can they do that better?
Yeah, we do research all the time, and one research finding we found was we asked what people don't like to hear, and they don't like to hear "good job," and the reason is it's too vague, doesn't take any effort, it doesn't mean a whole lot. And we really teach our team among the team members uh, sort of a model of using a person's name. We like to hear a name. If you're writing it, be sure you spell it correctly,
Mhm.
but then be specific about something that you value about the person, either something that they've done or just a personal characteristic. Maybe they have a, a, a cheerful disposition or they're dependable. And doing that either in writing or verbally works. We've actually found that 40% of employees don't like to go up in front of a big group, and
Mhm.
that's actually a negative. And so that's really not showing appreciation if you're forcing them in front of the
Yeah.
big group. So it's best to keep it private until you're for sure they're okay, and maybe in front of their team is okay. That
Yeah.
hey, Becky really handled a tough situation with a client. Quality time is actually breaks down generationally. We've done generational research. Older employees tend to like focused attention with their manager or supervisor. That's sort of how we were acculturated. And being able to share observations or ask for input. Younger workers, though, don't really care that much about relationship
Mhm.
with supervisor. It's about their peers.
Mhm.
And I tell older managers, just because they have quality time doesn't mean they want time with you. You may be wonderful and
Yeah.
great, but that's not it. And so actually, we're finding that the younger the worker, all the way down to Gen Z, the more likely it actually goes up to about 35, 36% instead of 26% want quality time.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's kinda interesting because I even think of not so much now. Now I'm much more comfortable with I think just different levels of people, but I think earlier in my career when it was like, "Oh, we're gonna go have lunch or we're gonna do this dinner after work," and I would be like, "Oh, like, this is not."
yeah,
Yeah, it would, like, made me uncomfortable. Now
yeah.
I'd be good with it, but I could see that for younger people. And do you I wonder if part of that is truly a generational thing or it's just, if when the people who are in the older generations now when they were youngsters, maybe who didn't know how to connect with some of those senior people, I maybe it makes a difference, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And we sort of track that across time because we've been doing this for about 15 years. And so I think it's some being more comfortable with it, but also just really focusing more on collegial relationships.
Yeah.
Third language is acts of service. It's not rescuing, a low performing colleague. It's just those small things that you can do that can make their day or week go better. And these are people that sort of live by the mantra: don't tell me you care or support me, show me. Words are cheap to them. And so, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. Now, most people, if you say, would you like some help with that? They're going to say, no, I'm good. That's sort of a cultural standard. But lots of times you sort of push through that and say, no, I've got some time I can help out. Sort of two situations happen for quality time. One is you're working on a time limited project and you're just banging away trying to get it done. What's something somebody can do? Now, maybe you can delegate part of it, or maybe they can answer your phone or emails for a day so you can keep focused on the project. The other setting is like in a service setting. If you're a dental office and all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 patients show up all at once,
Yeah.
can somebody help out to process them? And so it doesn't take a lot, and it's not like you're doing it all the time, but it can really be key to help them feel encouraged and supported.
I
Uh,
like your suggestion there, especially of taking some other task, even if it's not specific to that project, but really helping to free up, your time and resources to be able to focus where you need to. Because I know when I was looking at this and doing the inventory, and I thought like acts of service, like I no, stay out of my business. Like I've got work to do.
right.
I hadn't even contemplated the approach of no, I can help free your resources so that you can focus where you need to. Love that.
Yeah. And that brings up a point. We actually have different versions of our inventory for different work settings because an active service looks differently in a hospital for a nurse versus a school teacher versus in the office,
Yeah.
or even we have them for professional trades like carpenters and um, plumbers and so forth. And then the fourth language is tangible gifts. It's not raises, it's not bonuses, it's not that. It's small things that you've learned that your colleagues like. And one of the core concepts for us is that appreciation really is about the person, and it
Mhm.
is person to person. It's not according to the org chart. And it's sort
Mhm.
of cool. It can flow in any direction. So you find out that maybe, I don't know, your supervisor likes a certain kind of specialty coffee that they only get every once in a while, and you do that. Or
Yeah.
maybe, they have a favorite sports team. I live in outside of Kansas City, and so the Chiefs, so you get me a preseason thing about the Chiefs, right?
Mhm.
Not the Raiders. So, and you have those, or maybe somebody's gonna have relatives for the holidays and they've never made Thanksgiving dinner, and you get them a magazine at the grocery store, or even it doesn't have to cost anything. It can be a website that has resources. So people like that. But if you only give gifts but never say anything, don't spend time or help them out, people feel like it's pretty superficial, especially if the company is paying for the gift. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
too costly. And then
Mhm.
physical touch is the one that people get weirded out about in the US, at least. But
I know, in, like, an HR context, it's like, "Whoa, hold on."
yeah, yeah, we're going to get sued. Uh, but it's really spontaneous celebration. It's, high five when
Yeah.
you finish a project, a fist bump, maybe a congratulatory handshake. It depends what part of the country you live in. I lived in Atlanta for a while. There are a lot of side hugs down
Yep,
there. And then
yep,
cross culturally, we found that, our Latin and Hispanic colleagues are more physical and also in Southern Europe, Portuguese and Italians, that not touching feels very cool and distant to them. So it's always the person who's receiving that says what's appropriate. Uh,
mhm.
but it can be a fun thing as well.
Yeah. I love all of these ideas. I think for myself, one of the things that I have always done when I have started in a new role is, and the kind of the back of my notebook, as I met people, I would write down something I noticed. Like if they told me their child was in college somewhere, well, where are they? If they had a same thing, like you said, they have a sports team, they like spouse's name, child name, pet, anything about them, because I knew I wasn't going to remember all of it.
Right.
And so having that just coming in the door always helped along the way, because then when I needed to, maybe it's give a gift or to say something that's very specific, I had my little cheat sheet. So it was kind of funny when I left the last organization that I worked for, I was telling some of my colleagues like, "Oh, I have notes on you," and they were like, "Oh, what did you write about me? What did you
Yeah,
say?" Yeah,
yeah.
because like if you don't know, if you don't have that connection, then you can't make it about that person.
Yeah, and that's where our assessment helps out because it helps gather a lot of information, not just for you, but the whole team.
Yeah.
Because we have a group profile that shares, people's languages and the actions they prefer, and also the actions they don't want, so that you don't sort of accidentally make a mistake by,
No.
praising them in front of somebody or something like that.
Yep. Now, I know that you mentioned, that you need to kind of pick and choose and use these things in the appropriate situation or at different times. Is there any connection between what somebody likes as appreciation and then what they tend to do as a leader to show appreciation?
Yeah, that's usually our first starting point when we think about this and think, oh, I should write notes to somebody because we like to get notes, or I should go stop by and check in and see. And and that's the challenge. I mean, that we identify each person's primary and secondary language, but also their least valued language, because that's sort of your blind spot. That's when you don't think about because it's not that important to you, but you're going to have team members that have that language. And so by getting a group profile, it's sort of uh, an innocuous way to be able to find out a fair amount of information in a not uh, too overt of way. And
Yeah.
then you sort of have to make a plan about, okay, Judy likes quality time, and so I need to check and see what kind it is. And if you're a manager and you have team members that have quality time with peers, then you need to figure out a way to facilitate that. Maybe that's having lunch together and just chatting about personal life. It's not about work life, it's about them as a person,
Mhm.
and who they are, and the other parts of themselves that they bring.
You mentioned connectedness and how important that is. And when I think about the world where we have so many people who not just remote or permanently work from home, but working with teams that are in so many different places, whether it's within the U.S. or even across the globe, how can we apply these things with people who are not physically near us?
Yeah, so a long time ago, pre-COVID, we developed a remote or long distance version, because how do you spend quality time with somebody that's far away? And for that, lots of times we don't know what the other person's doing. We don't want to interrupt them. So a nice action is just to send them a note, say, hey, I'd like to catch up with you for 5 or 10 minutes. When would be a good time that, would work for you? And set up a time, and then just really focus on, hearing how things are going, whether it's them personally or their family. And so, uh, yeah, it takes. We did research again with remote employees versus on site, and found that one, you need to be proactive because you don't have those chance encounters in the break room or coming into the office or whatever. Secondly, it really is more about peer interaction, because the supervisor is typically going to keep connected somewhat, but especially for those younger workers, facilitating and making sure that team members are connecting with each other, and that the communication is about their personal life and what's going on versus just work. And it could be as simple as what'd you do this weekend, or how are your kids doing in soccer. But if we don't have that, then it sort of narrows who we are and what we know about each other. That we're just sort of work units,
Yeah.
and we just really emphasize, hey, employees are people. They're not just production units, and so we need to sort of get to know them. And it's huge. The connection factor is huge, and it's driving the problems with loneliness and with
Mhm.
anxiety, depression. And so we really have found that sort of undertaking taking a process. We developed like a half day training for a team, with them take the assessments, and then following up. It creates that connectedness that those other issues really sort of dissipate over time.
Yeah, I really love all of that in the sense that one, as an individual, you want to be connected and you want to feel like you have a friend, someone that you can talk to, or confide in when you have that bad day or when you need that help or whatever. And it might be something, of course, we bring our whole selves to work. So just to know that you have a resource and that you're not alone, even in your workplace.
Yeah, and we have different resources. Our main website is appreciationatwork.com. It's the word at appreciationatwork.com. But if people want, I'd be glad to send them some sample reports and a group summary. Just email me at yes.drpaul at gmail.com, and I'll send them information about that and the training, just so that make it easy for them.
Awesome. And then, of course, they should go out and get your book, The Five Languages of Appreciation in the
That would be
Workplace.
good. That'd be good. It's an easy read, and it's sort of, you can like read a chapter every couple of days or whatever, and pick and choose. But we've sold 600,000 copies. It's in 25 languages, so I think it's has been proven to be helpful to people.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And again, I was excited just to read it and to take the inventory and see what's happening. So I think it's something that leaders need and people need, and in order to handle some of those issues, the retention and the turnover and the development, we've got to be doing these things. So I think of some of the leaders that I know that are not comfortable with some of these different things, and this to me is such a great resource to help leaders develop their skills so that they can be more effective leaders.
Yeah, and we found that actually, because I know we're talking to HR professionals at different levels, you don't have to implement it organization wide all at once. We actually find finding a leader or two that are interested in this, do a pilot group with them, have somebody go through the training and lead them through it, and you learn about it, and it actually becomes a bit of a positive peer pressure, that people hear about it and they say, hey, how come they get to do this, and when are we going to get to do it? And we went all the way across Miller Coors organization nationally, sort of just that little sort of word of mouth kind of thing, as well as other big organizations and small ones.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I can't imagine one segment in an organization doing it and seeing the impact and then not have other people hear about and want to do it too.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the way it rolls.
Yes. Well, Dr. Paul, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today about the five languages of appreciation in the workplace. And I am so grateful that you shared some of these specific things that people can do. So thank you so much.
You bet. My pleasure.
All right, we have reached the end of our show. So, of course, we're going to close out with, oh my God, Becky, look at that comment. So, I recently posted a video and it was talking about people who know how they're paid. They know if they're at market, above market, all of this stuff. So, I won't get into the details of that. But one of the comments that somebody made was, when you come back to your employer with examples of what other organizations are paying, they don't like that. So, as you know, if you've listened to any of my other episodes or any of my other content, you know that I am a big proponent of advocating for yourself in the way of how you provide value for an organization. And when I talk about market data, I love to tell people, go out, look at good data. Now, if you come in with a bunch of junk, then yes, your employer's not going to appreciate that. But I really think we need to do a better job of communication. And so, on the employers as well as employees, if you are going into your employer and you are working to advocate for yourself, don't just say, oh, they don't like that. Now, if you're obnoxious or you're rude about it, of course they're not going to like that. But I am super confident that if you are respectful and you are bringing in some valid, statistically sound data and you want to talk about comp, your employer will be open to that conversation. If they're not, that's a whole different issue. You probably have some other things going on. They probably need a little bit more of what Dr. Paul talked about today. Keep talking to your employers, keep advocating for yourselves. We're all in this together, and we're all looking for the best work situation we can have. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked today's episode, please like and subscribe.
That's it for this episode of the Gorilla HR Podcast. We hope you found some unconventional wisdom and actionable advice to help you in your own HR journey. Remember, we're all working together to build better workplaces. Want to join in the conversation? Send us your questions, stories, and maybe even your own guerrilla tactics to podcast@gorilla-hr.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your network. Until next time.